This is the story of Gabriela Silang, the fearless Filipina who defied Spanish rule. In this three-part series, we'll follow her journey from a young woman in Ilocos to a revolutionary leader, to a martyr whose legacy still inspires today.
Did you know that a farmer's daughter became the most feared warrior in Spanish colonial Philippines? In the 1730s, young Gabriela lived in rural Ilocos, watching her family suffer under brutal Spanish rule. Heavy taxes crushed peasant families, while forced labor tore men from their homes for months. Spanish officials treated Filipinos like slaves in their own land. Everything changed when Gabriela married Diego Silang, a charismatic revolutionary who spoke of freedom. Through him, she learned that their suffering wasn't fate. It was oppression that could be fought. Diego began gathering followers, spreading dangerous ideas about Filipino independence. His movement grew rapidly as word spread through the villages. But the Spanish weren't blind to this growing threat. Colonial authorities started watching Diego's every move, preparing to crush his rebellion. They had no idea that the quiet farmer's daughter beside him would soon become their greatest nightmare. The woman who would be called the Joan of Arc of the Philippines was about to be born.
With Spanish power weakening, Diego Silang's rebellion is gaining ground. At his side stands Gabriela, not just a wife, but a leader in her own right, commanding forces and inspiring fear in the enemy. But as their movement grows, betrayal lurks just ahead.
In 1763, a woman shocked the Spanish Empire by leading an army on horseback. After Diego Silang's growing rebellion caught Spanish attention, he made a desperate alliance with the British during the 7 Years' War. He demanded reforms for the Filipino people, but the Spanish had other plans. On May 28, 1763, Diego was eating dinner when trusted allies burst through his door. They weren't there to protect him. Miguel Vicos and Pedro Becbec, paid by Spanish gold, shot Diego dead in his own home. His wife, Gabriela, found his body covered in blood. But instead of fleeing, she did something unthinkable for women of her time. She gathered Diego's followers and declared herself their new leader. When she appeared on horseback wearing warrior's clothing, even hardened soldiers stared in disbelief. A woman commanding an army was unheard of in colonial Philippines. Her first battle against Spanish troops proved she was more than just Diego's widow. She was a warrior born from betrayal.
Gabriela Silang's rise was unstoppable, a woman leading an army, defying an empire. But the higher she climbed, the more dangerous the shadows around her became. In the final episode, the rebellion reaches its breaking point, and history takes a dark turn.
After proving herself in battle, Gabriela Silang faced an impossible situation. The Spanish colonial forces were closing in, so she made a bold decision. She led her remaining fighters deep into the mountains of Ilocos, where they could strike without warning. Her guerrilla tactics were devastating. They would attack Spanish convoys, then disappear into the jungle like ghosts. Stories spread across the region of the fearless woman general riding into battle on horseback. Peasants whispered her name in hope. The Spanish spoke it in fear. But someone close to her was feeding information to the enemy. Her movements, her hideouts, her plans, all reported back to Spanish commanders. In September 1763, they finally cornered her. She was dragged to the public square in Vigan and hanged before a crowd. But instead of ending the rebellion, her death created something more powerful. A legend that would inspire Filipino revolutionaries for centuries to come.